Welcome to the Great Divorce Podcast, hosted by divorce financial analyst and retirement planning counselor Andrew Hatherley. Join Andrew and guest experts as they help late-life divorcees build the financial and mental foundation for a meaningful future. There is life after divorce. Now, on to the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great Divorce Podcast. In previous episodes, you may have heard me discuss a concept called financial life planning. Financial life planning is a holistic approach to financial planning that places your life goals and values at the center of the financial planning process. It's not just about your money. Rather than focusing exclusively on growing your retirement accounts and investment returns, the life-centered approach starts with your life. It asks what kind of life you want to live and how your money can be used to support that life. It's a process that starts with you, not your investment portfolio. Now, most financial advisors focus on investment returns and a magic dollar number that you must achieve before you retire. Do you remember that television ad from a few years ago where people are walking in a downtown city park and floating above their head is a dollar number, and the ad asked, "What's your number?" You know, it's a legitimate question, but I don't think it's the most important question or the first question that your advisor should ask you. In fact, asking someone in their 50s or 60s to provide a magic dollar number which, when they reach it, they can, quote unquote, begin to enjoy life, is flawed on a number of levels. For one thing, retirement means different things to different people. Some people absolutely hate their jobs and can't wait to quit. Other people love what they do and find meaning and purpose in their work. Most of us, I suspect, are somewhere in the middle between the love and the hate. Another thing is, retirement can be fraught with perils if you don't have something to retire to, as opposed to something to retire from. I've seen many people have trouble making the transition to retirement without having something to keep them active and to give their life meaning. Let's consider a hypothetical 58-year-old married couple who followed the financial industry's advice and came up with a magic retirement dollar figure of, say, $2 million. And they plan to reach that number at 65 years of age. But what happens if they get divorced at age 62 and they've only saved $1.5 million? To keep things simple, let's say that their net worth is $1.5 million. Of course, that's going to be split in divorce, more likely than not. So now they've each got $750,000 and each have to maintain separate households. Even allowing for some downward adjustment to that $2 million figure for the fact that they're single, they're still a long way from reaching that magic number at 65. Does this mean that you're doomed to be a wage slave until you're 70? That all your dreams and plans need to be put on hold? You can see how this approach can be tone deaf to the recently divorced 62-year-old. This issue bothered a fellow named George Kinder. George Kinder is considered the father of financial life planning. He was a financial planner for decades and was very uncomfortable with this money-first approach. He sought to help his clients through the planning process in a different way. For Kinder, the basic premise is to help an individual into their dream of freedom. The idea that every person has a dream of the life they ought to be living, which is equally applicable for people who don't have much money or may be in debt, or for people who have lots of money. Kinder's point is that if people just focus on the money, they lose track of who it is they really want to be and what it is they want to do. People may assume, well, I can't travel or write that novel until retirement, until I reach that magic number. For people who've suffered financial setbacks such as late life divorce, they may wonder if they'll ever be able to follow their dreams. Their focus becomes more and more about the money. They read financial blogs, focus on their budget or their investment allocation. And it's certainly not wrong to focus on these things. Lord knows I've written enough about these things and advised clients to track financial metrics such as a budget and a net worth statement. But the point of financial life planning is that these financial metrics may cause us to lose focus. Our focus is off target. The focus should be on the type of life that you want to lead, and the money should be used as a means to fund that type of life. And in some cases, that life may not be nearly as expensive as you think it might be. You may remember podcast episode 25, where I spoke with Brian Portnoy, the author of the book, The Geometry of Wealth. In that conversation, Brian and I discussed the distinction between being rich in financial terms and being wealthy, the idea of having a fulfilling life. Portnoy uses a wonderful term called funded contentment, the idea that our money is an instrument to fund a life that brings us that feeling of contentment. George Kinder is famous for his 3 questions that he suggests financial advisors ask, or we ask ourselves, as a tool to help us focus on why it is we put aside money in our IRAs or pensions or 401ks. His first question is pretty simple. It's the lottery question. Imagine that you're financially secure and then you have all the money you'll need for the rest of your life. How would you live your life? Would you change anything? What would you do? This first question's designed to free you from the shackles of finances and let yourself go. Don't hold back in acknowledging what freedom means to you. Sometimes people have trouble answering this question because it's a fact that many times we don't know what we want. I've just discussed this before on the podcast, and here the tools of positive psychology can be very helpful. You might want to check out episodes 21, 22, 29, and 30 of the podcast, where I discuss some of these psychological tools for self-awareness and growth. George Kinder's second question is a little deeper. You visit your doctor, who tells you that you only have 5 to 10 years left to live. The good news is that you won't ever feel sick. The bad news is that you will have no notice of the moment of your death. You just know that you're guaranteed 5 years, but you may have 10. What are you going to do in the years you have remaining? Will you change your life? And how will you do it? The point of this question is really to narrow down to your most deeply held values. But this question also serves as a warm-up for the third and most important question, which goes deeper still. This is the third question. Consider that your doctor shocks you with the news that you only have 1 day left to live. Think about the feelings that arise as you confront your mortality. Reflecting on your life, on all your accomplishments, as well as all the things that will remain undone, ask yourself, what did I miss? Who did I not get to be? What did I not get to do? This third question is obviously the most difficult, but it really gets to the core of what financial life planning is all about. It's a question that should take you beyond superficial answers and really hone in on what you really long for, what makes you different, and what really needs to be considered in your financial life planning. Kinder says that this third question usually generates responses that follow 5 themes. And the first is family or relationships. In fact, up to 90% of the responses to this third question refer to family and relationships. If you're a regular listener to this podcast, you've heard me talk about the Harvard study of adult development. The Harvard study found, just as the response to this question found, that human relationships and connections were the major determinant of human happiness. Other responses to this question relate to creativity. Many people want to do something creative like write, learn a musical instrument, paint, even start a podcast. Others were interested in giving back to the community. Others sought to live a more authentic or spiritual life. And another popular theme was to have a greater connection with nature and to focus on helping the environment. As I mentioned earlier, I think life-centered planning makes perfect sense for people going through late-life divorce. For one thing, you're not just splitting assets, you're rediscovering who you are. And life-centered planning helps clarify what matters to you most now and the kind of life you want to build moving forward. We all know that financial stress can add to the emotional stress after divorce. Life-centered planning can help create a calm, judgment-free approach while helping you understand your new financial reality. It can also help you regain a sense of control and direction. Life-centered planning also acknowledges that life transitions are normal and can be navigated. A good life-centered financial planner will be able to guide you through this transition with empathy and understanding and address both the financial and emotional sides of change. Of course, life-centered planning helps you prioritize your new life goals. For instance, you may want to move to a new city or even a new state. You may want to move to a new country, start a new career, go back to school, focus on your children or grandchildren, travel, dedicate yourself to creative pursuits like music, writing, or theater. Life-centered planning aligns with your money with those personal goals, even if they're still taking shape. The idea is you don't have to wait until some magical age where you have a magical amount of money in the bank to pursue these interests. For instance, some people think about living abroad when they retire. Kinder would suggest trying it out while you're still working. Rent an Airbnb in Portugal or Mexico or wherever for 2 or 3 weeks. Want to focus on creative pursuits? Take an acting class at the weekend. Take a writing class at night. If your post-divorce financial recovery involves you working a few years longer than you'd planned, and that thought fills you with dread, consider what you might do to make your job reflect more of your authentic self. I know my work as a financial advisor became much more fulfilling when I focused on helping people who are going through the same situation I went through with a late life divorce. Not only did the job become more meaningful, but I was able to express some of my creativity through this podcast, through writing articles for outlets like kiplingers.com, and the chapters I wrote for the Amicable Divorce book. What I love most about the life-centered approach is that it helps you redefine success. Instead of measuring success by wealth or status, you define it by peace of mind, meaningful relationships, an emphasis on experiences rather than material possessions, having a purpose. It's a combination of emotional and financial security. If you're going through divorce or you've just emerged from divorce and you're planning your new life, and the concept of life-centered financial planning resonates with you, please get in touch with me through my website, transcendretirement.net. Until next time, take care.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Great Divorce Podcast. To learn more or get in contact with your host, you can visit Andrew's website at transcendretirement.net. Also, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Information provided is educational only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Each situation is unique and should be discussed with your tax or legal advisor prior to implementation. Andrew Hatherley is not an attorney and does not provide legal advice. Information provided is financial in nature. Advisory services offered through Hatherley Capital Management, LLC. Divorce financial analysis services offered through Wiser Divorce Solutions, an affiliated company.